Thank you all for joining. I'm Pierre Morieux from France. I'm a product marketing manager for chemistry software applications here at Revity Signals. I will be joined later in the presentation by Lindsay Rickershauser, who's the actual product manager for ChemDraw. Welcome to this first ChemDraw Connect session of the year. As you may or may not have seen, we have started end of last year this regular cadence of ChemDraw tips and tricks sessions on specific topics that relate to ChemDraw and to organic chemistry in general, not necessarily limited to organic chemistry, but all sorts of chemistry you can represent with ChemDraw. And so this is our first session of the year on supramolecular chemistry. And before we start, in France, they say that you have until January 31st to say best wishes. So just want to wish everybody here a very happy and productive and fruitful 2024 year. So with that being said, let's jump in. Mandatory sort of introduction. You're seeing a name on the top left corner of that screen that you may not have seen before. Revity Signals. What is Revity Signals? It's a new name. It's a new brand that appeared on the radar last year, somewhere around May. Revity Signals make software solutions to empower chemists and biologists and decision makers to gain critical insights from all types of scientific data, increasing the chances of success of research projects and visualization tools like Spotfire. Before we get into things, just housekeeping. This session is being recorded. This session the recording will be shared with you by email after this webinar. Questions pane in the GoToWebinar window. Feel free to drop any questions you may have, and we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of this webinar. And I think we should be able, on our side at least, to go over 5 or 10 minutes if there are questions, if there are specific things that you would like to see again or that were not clear. And we're still getting people in, which is wonderful. This is very nice to see. So with all that being said, we are gonna go into some chosen examples where you'll be able to see various things and different ways to use ChemDraw to represent and draw and view supramolecular structures. What did I just do? I just did a little widget that, if some of you have seen me present before, is going to show you what I am typing on my keyboard so that it's easier to follow. So I'm pressing the up arrow on my keyboard, the down arrow on my keyboard, shift left, and then control up, right? So you're gonna see what I'm typing on my keyboard, because that is an integral part to using ChemDraw in an efficient manner. So obviously, how do you represent supramolecular structures? We went with rotaxanes, super original, I know, but supramolecular chemistry and structures like this is a good way to, it's a good way to demonstrate what you can do with ChemDraw. So if we take that rotaxane structure, this is actually a mix of 2D and 3D. If you have to represent it in 3D, this could be a way to represent it, right? That you could put in a PowerPoint presentation. So a couple of things that I'm going to show. First of all, I am using, excuse me, this is version 22 of ChemDraw. Lindsay will have a couple of things to say at the end of this webinar about what's coming up in a very short amount of time with a new version of ChemDraw, and she'll tell you all about that. This is ChemDraw, part of the current Chem Office offering. So ChemDraw 22 with the 3D cleanup feature that you're seeing, and a feature that is part of ChemOffice version 22 at the moment, which is the copy as 3MF feature, which this is a bit of a spoiler, but we'll see about that. We'll see if people are interested in learning more about that. This is an example of the rotaxane, the full rotaxane picture drawing that we were looking at before, with potentially some 3D animation that you can do with that. So this is the 3MF format. We're going to see in detail how to get through all of that, but this is this is the end point of the drawing, which is the presentation, which is the communication of what you are drawing in ChemDraw. So we'll see how to get there. This is, for example, a native animation of within PowerPoint. And if it's lagging on your screen, it's also lagging on my computer. I just got a new computer, and for some reason, the PowerPoint animations are not super smooth. But if you can picture it, it's the 3D model that is rotating around a y-axis, if I can say that, on your slide in a native fashion, right? So here you have, it can turn right, can turn up, can turn down in 3D, but we will see more about that. This is the example that I want to start with. So how to draw and represent that sort of structure in 2D and 3D. And what I may suggest is, if you have, I have plans on showing you how to represent this sort of structure. So a caging structure, a cryptophane, looks pretty nice like this. So again, how to get to that structure in 3D in a minimal amount of time, obviously, because you could draw this by hand, but it would take you ages. This is a zeolite structure. If you are interested in how to get to a zeolite A type of scaffold, just let us know in the questions. This is another form of zeolite, phlogisite unit. I know we said supramolecular structures and not inorganic structures, but depending on how you look at it. And then we have something I want to cover, how to make a trefoil knot in ChemDraw using, this is very easy to do if you know how to make a trefoil knot. Okay, so this is what I want to cover for the next 25 minutes. So we're going to start here with this rotaxane structure. So a couple things that you want. The goal is going to be to get to a 3D structure that you're going to be able to present and show inside a PowerPoint presentation to illustrate how rotaxane works. So first of all, let's get rid of this one. Let's get more space. Right. So you're seeing on the left side of the screen in yellow what I am typing on my keyboard. First of all, just a couple basics sort of on PC, and I'm on PC now. F7 is zooming in, F8 is zooming out, F5 is view at 100% of the drawing, and F6 is make the height fit to the window. Okay, that's just some little basic things that are always nice to remember. So how would you draw, for example, the chain? The chain. The one thing that I'm going to be emphasizing also is showing you and giving a reminder or introducing people to drawing with hotkeys. So obviously, you have all those tools that are available on the left side of the screen. If you mouse over the tool, a quick reminder, if you mouse over the tool, you will have a tooltip telling you solid bond X, 1 or 0 on atom. What that means is that if you are over the canvas, you don't have anything selected, and you press X on your keyboard, then it selects the drawing bond tool. If I press space on my, while mousing over nothing on the canvas, it will select the marquee tool, which tells you between brackets that if you press spacebar while mousing over nothing, you select the marquee tool. If you press E, you will select the arrow tool. If you press T, you will select the text tool, and you can type stuff, and so on and so forth, right? So also, more important, quick reminder on hotkeys. I insert a bond, I touch the bond with the selection tool, and that activates this little blue circle with a green dot, right? Once you have done that, you can move away from the molecule and use the arrows to move that hotspot. You need to look at this really as the cursor in a text document, in a word editing tool. You position the cursor / the hotspot where you want, and then you press 1, for example, to add the carbon-carbon bond towards the green dot, and 0 away from the green dot. So with 1 and 0, you could for example, quickly draw a complex structure. 1 towards green dot, 0 away from green dot, or 1 extends the chain, carbon chain, 0 cyclizes the chain. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the numbers, all the keys on your keyboard essentially do something, right? Hotkeys cheat sheet. This is what will show up on your screen the first time that you launch a new version of ChemDraw, telling you if you are on Atom and you press 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Z, capital Z, V, U, K, capital K, you will get to magically appear the group that is drawn in red in the cheat sheet, okay? So that's just a quick reminder. I'm not gonna go over what every hotkey does today. Suffice to say, if I start here, so I can press enter over an atom, starts the text tool, press enter, you validate the selection, then you press A or 3, it's gonna add the phenyl group. And then press 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0 to make a peg chain, for example, right? Oop, this is and then you delete to go back if you have made a mistake, of course, right? So this is a very easy way to make a peg chain. But mind you, this is not exactly how it's represented. So I'm fully conscious of there are certain ways to represent certain molecules on the screen, and the peg for the illustration of that rhotaxane is not exactly drawn like this. So we're going to see a couple tricks to do that. But that's the basics of how you would, do 1 and I do 3 and I do 1 and then I do 0 and then, keep on doing the same. Excuse me, I'm a little sick these days. That's one part of the rhotaxane. Now we're going to look at how we do this ring, right? So how would you start to do this? On Atom, so I've inserted a bond, which is inserting one carbon bond is really my primary use of the mouse in ChemDraw mostly. Insert a bond within the orientation that you want, so horizontal 1, right? So you see the hotspot moves with the arrows on my keyboard. And what can I do? I can do 3 or A. So I press A, I press 1, I press A, I press 1. If I do this one, I have to do this. I have to do this. A, and then this is this. And that would be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're missing 1. And excuse me, like this. And then this guy would get linked to this guy, right? And then magically become a 3D. So a couple ways you can do this. Obviously, you can take that and drag it in a very not so elegant fashion all the way here, right? That's one possibility. The other possibility is that you can do this. Let's bring up something else. Let's bring up into the view menu two toolbars. One is the structure toolbar, where you're going to have your usual functions like the name to structure, structure to name, NMR predictions, proton and carbon, structure cleanup, and including the 3D cleanup. And we also have, let's remove this one because it's just taking up space and it's not very important here. And the object toolbar is this one right there. The top left, the top left tool is the joining tool. We have an icon for it since version 21, I believe. So I have selection tool and I click select this carbon. I select this carbon. So I have two carbons selected, and then so either I press Control J like joining, or you have the action, the icon for it, which is this. So it doesn't look super nice. So I'm gonna press, you can press space or you can press tab to select the molecule that you just acted on. So I select the molecule, I do Control Shift D. Control Shift D is multiple times, right? I'm pressing it multiple times. Control Shift D is the 3D cleanup. 3D cleanup being available at ChemDraw Professional level or higher. And it's going to give us that sort of structure in 3D. Mind you, I'm missing the nitrogens, right? So I am going to change that, but I'm gonna show you another trick to facilitate drawing of that, right? So let's try another way which doesn't involve, well, which looks nicer in a flat way. So coming back here, and this time I'm going to include the nitrogens. Insert a bond, I press N, I press A. So it's going to add a, first I'm adding a nitrogen, and then on top of this atom, I am adding a phenyl group. Then I press A, then I press N, then I press 1. So I need to put a CH2, but I want to try to put the CH2 in a flat fashion. So what I do is I insert one bond, that's 1. Then I insert, what is at 180 degrees in organic chemistry, it's an alkyne, and Z is the hotkey for the alkyne. So I'm going to insert an alkyne like this, and then you have hotkeys that apply to atoms, and then you have hotkeys that apply to bonds. So as you mouse over a bond, I'm over the triple bond, and I press 1. I'm going to switch it to a single bond. If I press 2, I'm going to switch it to a double bond. If I press 3, triple bond. If I press 1, single bond. If I press W, I'm going to make it wedged. If I press H, I'm going to make it hashed wedge. If I press B, I'm going to make it bold, capital B, bold double, and Y for wavy, etc., etc. It's all in the hotkeys cheat sheet that is available under the help menu. So here I have added effectively a CH2 and then another bond, but the CH2, the two CC bonds are flat at 180. So we have this, and then I'm going to do the same trick, Z, and then make it a single bond. So then I have, so nitrogen here, then I press A, and then N, and then 1, and yeah, I think that's that. Now I want to show you another way that you can use some of the new hotkeys we have put together. So hotkey G is grab, right? So you see the hotspot is here. I'm on the most, I don't know in which way I'm pointing for you, because here looks like I'm pointing to the left, but I hope I'm pointing towards the furthest right atom, and I press G. G is for grab. So G is a hotkey since version 22. G is for grab. What grab does is as if you took the selection tool and you actually clicked on the atoms you selected. So now you see I have grabbed the atom on the right without touching it with the mouse, and I am moving it with the arrows. Okay, so it's moving 1 pixel by 1 pixel. So I hold Shift and then I press left, right? So when I do this, it's going to move 10 pixels by 10 pixels. Shift down, shift down, shift down, shift down. And here, so it doesn't look super nice, but I have overlaid those 2 carbons. Now, a trick with the Control J shortcut is that it works if you select 2 independent atoms, but nicely, it is also going to work if you closely align several structures together, multiple structures together that have closely overlapping carbon atoms. So when you do that, you select everything, and with the entire molecule selected, I press Control J. Okay. Now you didn't see it, but it actually joined whatever was closely overlapping, namely those 2 carbons. So now if I take this and I do Control Shift D, I'm going to get a 3D structure like this one. Okay. And I forgot 1 ring, of course I forgot 1 ring. I'm sorry. So let me do this. Let me delete that. What am I missing? Z1, this, and this guy, and this one. Let's do it again. G. So just showing you. I'm trying to do as much as possible without you touching the mouse. You know, that's my lifetime objective, not to use the mouse in ChemDraw at all, but you don't, you can also drag it with the mouse. I won't hold that against you. Okay, so let's do all that. Select the entire molecule, doesn't matter what is selected, Control J. Everything within that selection that has 2 closely overlapping carbons is going to get joined. So now, Control Shift D. Okay, Control Shift D multiple times. Now we have something like that. And this is where you could put this around here. Now, little trick, because our goal is to represent the long chain of the rotahexane in this very specific way. So what's a trick that you can use if you are good at recognizing shapes? So I go over here, press delete, press delete. Sorry, what did I just do? I inserted a bond. I went over the bond and I pressed 6, because when you have a bond, you can press 6. Over a bond, you can press 5, you can press 7, you can press 8, you can press 4, you can press V. It's going to fuse rings of various sizes, or you can press A. Forgive the atrocity of the pentavalent carbon, but you press A over a bond, and then it's going to fuse a benzene ring. Okay, so that's just what I did. Now you are here. You go here. You press O, and what's a trick to get to that sort of peg chain. Oops. Peg chain represented in a very peculiar way, because I get it. Sometimes you want to represent it like this. We're going to use one of the keys I just showed, which is V, and V is going to fuse over the bond A cyclopropyl, and then you can do 6, right? And then you can walk on the molecule with the arrows on the keyboard with the hotspot and simply delete, right? So here I have deleted 1 bond, and I press O, and this is what I have. Now, imagine you have that, and this is your unit. Let's try to, let's do this. So what did I do? Again, not sure we're gonna be able to do all the molecule I wanted, because every time I explain this in detail, I take more time. What am I doing? So I have this subunit, but I think, you know, it's interesting enough for everyone, I think, and I didn't see too many people drop, so I think that must still be interesting. What do we have here? We have a peg unit, and I want to show you a couple tricks to help you quickly build structures like this in a minimal amount of time. I select this structure, and rather than Control-C, Control-V, I use Control and click and drag. So what is this? You hold Control over, you select something on the screen, you hold Control, and you'll see maybe that there's a plus sign that appears over the hand. So as I hold Control, I click and drag, and it's going to make just copies of whatever I have selected. So let me undo that a little bit. Now, if I hold Control and Shift, I am going to clone the molecule and have it in a and have it perfectly aligned with the original one. So it's constraining it to the X and Y axis. So I do this, okay, and then I'm going to hit Control Y. Control Y is repeating the last action, so repeating exactly, shifting it by this exact amount of pixels, like this, right? Control Y. Control Y repeats the very last action that you did. So what can we do from here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 molecules. 5 molecules with each having a very closely overlapping carbons. So we're going to apply what I just explained, which is like Control J like joining, and they're not closely overlapping. So let me redo this slightly more accurate. It's sensitive, so it's sensitive to placement, right? So let's try this. Okay. Control Y, Control Y, Control Y. So now they are closely overlapping, like really. So now I'm going to select the 5 and hit Control J. There we go. So it worked with 3 and 2, not with this one. How do I know it worked? How do I know it joined? If you double click with the selection tool on a molecule, it selects the molecule. So if I double click here, you can see this is now one molecule. It just missed this guy. And same here, like this. So again, you know, can take this and Control J. Don't bother actually choosing the right atoms. Just overlay the connecting carbons very close, one on top of the other. Select everything, hit Control J, and now we only have one molecule, right? So take this, now it's one molecule, double click on it, it's one molecule. Hotkeys also apply to to where the hotspot is, but they can also apply to, you know, a selection. So here I realized that there aren't oxygens everywhere, but you select all of them and then you press O, and it's going to add oxygens wherever you have selected. You press S, you get sulfur. You press N, you're going to get nitrogens, etc., etc. So O is how you would easily create peg chains like this to go over. I mean, to create the peg chains that you want like this. All right. Did I really speak for almost 20 minutes? It seems like I did. So I am going to go over, I guess I'm going to finish up the example on this one. But I am going to just show you how to do all of this nicely. So let's imagine this is flat. We'll use this as a 3D model at the end, but this is flat. This is not flat anymore. This has been put into 3D. So what we want to do is make this ring go through the peg chain. obviously. So as this is in 3D, and this is a concept that's difficult to explain orally, but you'll get it when you see it. What can we do? First of all, rotation shortcut. So as you select a molecule or an object in ChemDraw, Alt with arrows is going to rotate it along the plane of, rotate it along the z-axis, I guess is how you would say. So the axis coming towards you, that's your axis of rotation, and Alt up and down is 15 degrees increments, and Alt left and right is 1 degrees increments, respectively clockwise and counterclockwise. So take this and rotate it like that, and put it up along the peg chain. So how does that work? Effectively, the plane of the screen is going to be the middle of is going to act as the middle for the z-axis. And I don't know how to say this more clearly, but as I have this 3D object and this is this 2D peg chain that is in the plane of the screen, if I select both and rotate that in 3D, you can understand what I'm talking about, which means that as I rotated and then I 3D rotated the this guy here, it placed it halfway, it placed it in such a way that the plane of the screen cuts it in half. It's the clearest way that I can explain it. But I guess you're understanding what I'm talking about. So this is how you would position such a thing as this molecule right here. Now, we're not fully finished yet, right? What's important to understand is how you would 3D clean up the whole thing if you wanted to, present it, right? So I'm just double clicking. The 3D cleanup applies to individual molecules. So imagine you take this, you take one molecule. First of all, I'm going to make a copy of this. So a peg chain, if you do a 3D cleanup of a peg chain, Control Shift D, Control Shift D, Control Shift D, it's floppy. It's going to be a little floppy. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. If you select both, right? If you try to select both and to do a 3D cleanup, it's not ChemDraw desktop that you're used to draw 2D molecules is not a docking program. So if you do 3D cleanup while having two molecules selected, one is not going to know what the other is, and one is not going to be aware of that there is another molecule, which means that they're going to be, independently energy minimized, right? Doesn't care really. Instead, what you can do, and again, it's a trick, is insert something a bit floppy. So make it one molecule with a floppy linker, such as, so here I'm using the mouse and I'm holding Alt, I'm using the mouse, I'm inserting a bond with the CC bond tool, and I'm holding Alt at the same time to extend the bond to wherever I want, okay? So I'm introducing a floppy linker, such as this hypothetical 3-carbon linker, between the chain of the rotexane and this guy right here, so that it becomes one molecule. And as it is now one molecule and I do 3D cleanup, then what looks like intramolecular interactions are going to get into place, right? So for example, the peg chain is going to be positioned more towards the center of this guy. So now it's considered really one molecule, and that will be taken into account. And once it's done, and when you have something that you think, okay, that's good enough for me to illustrate my point in PowerPoint, then you remove it and you don't touch it, and off you go. So then what you can do is take that color, show ring fill colors, make it red. Don't select the entire thing at once because it fills in the rings, right? It fills in with color the rings, and you know the inside circle here is a ring. It will get filled with color. So do it in 2 steps. I don't know if that's clear, but if not, I can repeat. And then you can take that and copy as 3MF. This is the main toolbar, or copy as 3MF, copy as 3MF ball and stick or stick. So we're going to do both. And while I have this, Control V, Shift up and Shift down in PowerPoint is how you increase the size of an image or an object. So there you go, another trick. And this is how you're going to have, for example, your Rotaxane native 3D model within PowerPoint with this handle that you can actually animate. So let's see if I go into presentation mode, and if I go into presenting, right? So this is a slide and native animations. Hopefully it works and it doesn't. Nope. It will. Okay, it will work, except now I seem to be frozen. So, Lindsay, if you can still hear me, now would be a great time to take over with your part of the presentation.
I can definitely still hear you. I think you're unfrozen, but I'm happy to.
Yeah, am I unfrozen? I mean, my screen is frozen. Maybe my talking face is not frozen, but my screen completely is. So okay. This is what you get with a live demo. So you can, I guess you can take over.
All right.
I can share my screen, and then you can take over to present what you would like to present. And then, of course, we'll have times for some.
All right. Yes. So can you see my screen? Everybody hear me and see me okay? Or, yeah. Okay. Pierre, can you see my screen? Sharing's in progress. I think Pierre maybe can't hear me. Okay. I'm hoping everybody can see my presentation. So my name is Lindsay Rickershauser. I'm the product manager for ChemDraw. So if you haven't seen me before, it's great to see you all, and thank you for joining. So we do have a new release of ChemDraw coming up relatively quickly in the near future. So I would expect it to be in the next month and a half or so, but version 23 is coming. So what is part of that? So we have some new features that are going to be part of desktop that I want to show you today and give you a quick preview demo of, and then a few other changes that I will talk about coming into the end. So first things first, what is coming into desktop in terms of new features? So I'm going to show you in just a second, switch over to ChemDraw, some things that are part of this, including a dark mode style sheet, which will allow you to utilize that dark mode sort of background to illustrate your molecules, a smart paste action that is coming into desktop, some hydrogen bonding in 3MF. I'll give you a quick demo of what that's going to look like, and then new perceptions in stereochemistry related to atropic isomers. So I'll go ahead and share my screen for ChemDraw Desktop. So for everybody joining today, I am actually using the Mac version of ChemDraw. I saw a quick question in the chat. What version of ChemDraw was Pierre using? He was using the Windows version. So if you're a Mac user like I am, you'll hopefully be able to see all of this in Mac. So first things first, as part of the 23 release, something that I think has been requested for quite some time that's really small that will now be available are hotkeys and shortcut keys that are Mac specific. So if I pull up the hotkeys cheat sheet on Mac, I actually will have now those shortcut and hotkeys specific to my Mac operating system. So things like using Option and Command instead of Control in place of those hotkeys on Windows. The same goes for the shortcuts cheat sheet on Mac as well. So you'll see all of the different shortcut key combinations for Mac. So if there are some that you haven't been able to quite parse yet, moving from the Windows over to the Apple or to Mac, you'll be able to do that rather easily. Okay, so in terms of new features coming into version 23 of desktop, so right off the bat, what you're seeing here on my screen is a new dark mode style sheet. So what is this? This is a rather dark background with a light foreground. This is accessible through the style sheets or samples, or I'm sorry, templates rather. No, excuse me, stationery. I get these confused. So we have a new stationery called dark mode. If I want to open that up, I'll go ahead and do that. This has become now my automatic actual open style sheet because this is the one that I've opened most recently in my desktop. So if I create a new style sheet, it's right there for me. Once I open it up, like I said, I have this background with a nice dark background and a light foreground, and that will allow me to now start building molecules that are a little bit easier on the eyes if you're staring at your computer quite often. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy in a few smiles codes to get a few new structures on the canvas for myself. Whoops, I'm in 3D rotation there. And if you are unaware, you can get structures relatively quickly into ChemDraw Desktop just by pasting a smiles code in. I don't have to paste special when I'm doing that, as long as the smiles code, I'm not in text editing mode, I can just go ahead and Control V and I'll get that on the screen. So this is a really easy way to get into a little bit easier viewing for your eyes. Like I said, if you are trying to preserve that, you're working in ChemDraw quite often, you can start building your schemes, etc. In this way. Now, one additional feature, and I'll show you directly in this style sheet as well, is we have something called a smart paste feature coming into desktop. So I don't know if you as the audience would be familiar, but a lot of times when you copy and paste in ChemDraw, previous action and behavior of ChemDraw was that copied and pasted molecule or reaction or whatever it was that you were pasting onto the canvas would paste directly on top of the previous structure that you had copied and selected. However, we've changed this behavior because we recognize this is something that would be a nice enhancement. So if I Control copy this on my clipboard and I Control paste, ChemDraw is now going to find an open space on my canvas to put that structure. And so I can go ahead and paste that again, and it'll find the next open space available, and it will continue going and finding some open space as I continue pasting these structures. So hopefully it will become a little bit easier for you to grab that full structure once you have pasted onto the canvas without overlapping, you know, structures underneath it. Okay. Okay, so next, atrope isomer perception. So previously, ChemDraw Desktop, the sort of core chemical intelligence behind ChemDraw recognized specific atrope isomers, and that would be 6,6 atrope isomers. So these are sort of these few connected ring systems with a lot of steric hindrance around them. So here is a nice example on my canvas of a 6,6 atrope isomer. If I add a wedge onto the structure, I will have a stereo center there now, sort of illustrating that bending of that system to account for the steric hindrance there. Similarly, I can do this on my other sort of atrope isomer, and this has been historically part of the ChemDraw for chemical intelligence. What we've enhanced is we have expanded support into the other atrope isomer combinations that are possible. So 5,6, 6,5 atrope isomers and 5,5 atrope isomers. And so as I come through and look at these other atrope isomer examples, if I start adding wedges to my system, I will begin to see the stereochemical centers actually being placed. Now, if you're curious how I actually am showing the stereochemistry, all I have to do is select the structures that I'm interested in, go into the atom settings and ask ChemDraw to show me the stereochemistry. So I did that for all the structures in this canvas. I can, of course, turn those off if I want, but that's how I'm showing you that stereochemical perception today. All right, and so then here we go with the 5,5 atrope isomers. Similarly, if I go ahead and add my wedges to my ring system to illustrate how those are turning in space, I'm getting that stereochemical perception. So now all of the different atrope isomer combinations are recognized within ChemDraw Desktop. Finally, I'll go ahead and show you some, hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bonding was introduced in version 22 of ChemDraw. So now, any hydrogen bonding interactions can be actually represented with a hydrogen bond that is chemically interpreted. So I have this set of water molecules. What was introduced in 22.2 of ChemDraw earlier this year was, representing these in 3D cleanup. So if I go ahead and take a quick copy of these hydrogen bonded water molecules and I do a quick 3D cleanup, I will see a really nice sort of 3D representation of a chair structure of these bonded water molecules. Now, if we're looking at something like a further 3D representation of perhaps an ice lattice, for example, I have this nice example down here of a hydrogen bonded lattice of water. This is a 3D representation, of course, so if I go ahead and select it, I can start rotating it around and I can start to see this structure. As Pierre illustrated with the 3MF. This is also going to be extended to 3MF. So if I come and I go ahead and copy that 3MF structure, I'm going to add a quick slide into my PowerPoint and share it for you again. And I will go ahead and paste that in. I can have this really nice 3D representation lattice, and with the coloring, it fills it really nicely so you can see all those interactions. So you can see the bond representation itself for hydrogen bonds are now dotted, so you can distinguish between the hydrogen bonds and the other bonds within that lattice as well. And you can do the fancy animations as well in the PowerPoint slide. And so yeah, that will be available coming very soon. So those are the main features that will be coming into ChemDraw Desktop. Along with the 23 release, we also will have a few additional items. One of those things being that ChemDraw collections will be introduced. So if you are familiar with ChemOffice Plus today, that tool will remain, however, it's getting a new name and a new face. So ChemOffice Plus is really about enabling and accelerating that biochemical communication, right? So what it allows you to do as an end scientist is to find your buried chemical data. So we scientists as a practice have always put our chemical drawings inside of things like Microsoft Office documents, so in PowerPoints and Excel, in Word documents, as part of publications, of presentations, of collating data inside of Excel. However, that information has not historically really been findable for us once it goes into those documents, and typically it goes there to stay, right? So ChemOffice Plus and now ChemDraw Collections really enables you to start gathering that information, finding that information, loading it into clouds, organizing into things such as collections, so that you can recycle, reuse, and repurpose it. And then you can take all of that content, now that you have it in the cloud, and quickly and easily report off of that information that you have. So that's coming in the 23 release as well as a quick teaser that with the 23 release, we will also be launching a new cloud native ChemDraw application. There will be more on that to come. We're really excited about this. We'll introduce this to you very soon, likely in March. And we are expecting the release of ChemDraw to go live in the end of February 2024. And with that, I'll go ahead and stop my presentation, and we can open it up for some questions.
Can you hear me again?
I can, Pierre, yes.
I'm back. Sorry, I had to brutally kill my PC and get back online because it was just not working anymore. Excellent. That looks super nice. I had not seen the ice lattice with hydrogen bonding, so that looks super cool. Quite excited about that actually. Right. So we have some room for questions. I did see a comment. I am sorry. I am sorry, Radha, if I speak too fast. I know it's a tendency that I have to speak very fast on things I'm excited about, and you can tell that ChemDraw is one of the things I'm excited about. So I tend to speak super fast also. So yeah, I'll do my best to speak slower. A couple questions. Can you show quickly? Well, I'll try to do it quickly. Like how to make the zeolite, and to make the zeolite, did I have it? Zeolite A. There was a question about that in the questions pane. If you have questions, of course, please. This is a reminder. Do ask any question you may have. Was it, be it, let's redo a molecule, a specific feature that you have, a molecule that you saw that we did not cover, because obviously we only covered one example that I wanted to show you three, but we only covered one in detail. And just quickly over here. So the basic principle, first of all, how you're going to represent a zeolite, so one of the subunits, in a nutshell. Insert a bond, press U. U is going to add a cyclobutyl group. So you do U, excuse me, my widget is disabled, so just bear with me. 1 U, 1 U, 1 U, okay. And now you take this, you hold Shift, you take this, Control J, Control Shift D. Okay, so you have this part. Then what you can do is you select all those carbons, you press 1, and then you press U, and here we're going to do manual work, right? So we're going to take this guy, and This is G. I used the grab. This Control J. So now we have that, and I have to do sort of the same thing at the bottom. So Control Shift D. Okay, so now you can see I have half my subunit, and then I do the same thing. Select all of those, press 1. So it's going to add the carbon bond to the 4 of them at the same time. Press U, and then just manually attach this. I mean, this works too. It's not as elegant, but okay. And then take this selection tool, take this, select, Control Shift D. So this is how you quickly build a zeolite subunit. Now to go into the different types of subunits. Let me quickly show you just once how you do it, and then it's repeat. Select all of, if you select all of those, press 1. And here I'm going to do manually, but you add this, this, Control Shift D. Okay. Okay. And then you close it. This, and you close it like that. And then you do Control Shift D. Control Shift D is really magic for 3D. Control Shift D. Now you have this. And what you use is the same trick that I showed earlier, which is going to involve taking that molecule, click and drag, and perfectly overlay it with the 4 carbons at the bottom, right? Oops, so, sorry. Make a copy. So 4 carbons, 4 pairs of carbons perfectly overlapping. Select both molecules, Control J, and now it's just one molecule. Okay. Repeat that to make the full lattice. This is how you would do, oh, and then hit Control Shift D. Obviously, there you go. Hit Control Shift D once you have done that, and you have your zeolite lattice. And yeah, that would be how you do this. Other questions? Can you change the width of the highlight in the highlighted bonds? Yes, so there isn't a setting per se, but it's in document settings. The width of the color highlight is going to be governed by the spacing of the double bond. So this is document settings. If you have a specific, let me add a highlight color here. So I added highlight color to those rings. What you can do is select part of a molecule and go to object settings, not document settings, but object settings. This way you control really what you want. And thing would be like going absolute, and absolute is the absolute spacing between a bond and a double bond, but it also influences the highlight. So if you go to 0.02 inches, just try it. There you go. It's gonna reduce the highlight. And if you go object settings to, I don't know, 0.035, then it's gonna increase it a little bit. So I hope that's helpful. And another question. Shortcut for making calixarine. There isn't a shortcut to make that. You need to build it little by little, but maybe we can cover that in another session. Briefly explain about the objective toolbar, which probably is the object toolbar. So the object toolbar that you get from View and Show Object Toolbar gives you an icon access to most of the options that are in here under the object menu. And so in the object toolbar, you can have the join function that we illustrated on multiple occasions, and the alignment functions, right? So align left, right, top, bottom, middle, center, as well as some useful ones in the bottom right corner, which are the distribution. So imagine that take this new document and paste, right? So I have, for example, those subunits, and I'm just making multiple copies like this. And I want to nicely align those subunits together. So what I'm going to do is maybe align top, bottom, centers. So they're all aligned like this, and distribute horizontally so that it looks nicer, right? So distribute horizontally, or same principle if I zoom out and then I rotate things. Like this, select all, distribute vertically, sorry, and it's going to be nicely aligned like this. Okay, we're 5 minutes past the hour, but there are still a lot of people present, so I'm guessing that we're showing interesting things. Can you rotate individual bonds in 3D? Great question. The answer is yes. Let me, oh, I don't have anything. So imagine you have that. The way that you rotate a bond in ChemDraw in 3D is you select everything with the structure perspective tool. Either you select part of the molecule excluding the single bond you want to rotate, and then you take the structure perspective tool, or you just select like this, and then you use the structure perspective tool while leaving out the end of the connecting CC bond. And this way you will rotate in 3D around the single bond, right? So you have this, and then you'll have something like that, which I'm guessing is what we're trying to get to, Oliver. Okay. Then what do we have? Yeah, I think just one comment on the 3MF option not available in ChemDraw Prime. That is correct. The 3MF option is only available at currently ChemOffice level. Follow-up question by Oliver. Can you do this by a specific angle? Can you rotate in 3D by a specific angle? The answer is not directly, but as you select one bond, you will see, I mean, it's very small on my screen, but as you rotate around a bond in 3D, you will see in the top right the amount, the angle by which you rotate. So here, for example, I'm going to go to, if I go to 90 degrees, I shouldn't be able to see the, well, almost shouldn't see the bond anymore. But yeah, it will tell you by how much things are being rotated versus baseline. Okay, it's not absolute. You can't, let me do that. You can't like double click somewhere and say 90 degrees and it's going to rotate it by 90 degrees, but it's a relative. There you go. So it's 90 degrees relative to the original position. Sorry, could you please show how you did highlight the bonds again? Of course. You didn't see it because I didn't have the menu in view. So highlight colors. Highlight colors is you need to be on version 20, at least 20 and above, and on ChemDraw Professional. And in the recent versions, you have show highlight color toolbars. Before it would have been in a submenu here, but now it brings up this little window. And the principle of the highlight is really you select certain bonds or certain atoms, and then you apply a color. So this works perfectly for, typically, so you select a carbon and then you do yellow. You select one carbon, you do red. You select one carbon, one bond, and then you do light blue, and that's perfect for properly highlighting specific parts of your molecule without with them being still visible. Obviously, if you change that bond to light blue, it wouldn't be visible at all, except maybe with Lindsay's dark mode template. Okay, the 3D operations, are they available with ChemDraw Prime? So the only thing, so the 3D cleanup, no, is not available in ChemDraw Prime. The 3D cleanup, getting an energy minimized version of the molecule in 3D is ChemDraw Professional only. What's available in ChemDraw Prime is the structure perspective tool. So you know, being able to use that to turn the molecule in 3D. The 3D rotation shortcut is available in ChemDraw Prime. So you select the molecule, you do Shift Alt and then up and down to rotate it in 3D, and then Shift Alt and arrows on the right arrows, up arrows, to rotate things in 3D. That's available in ChemDraw Prime. And in ChemDraw Prime, you can open a CIF file. That's something that we did not share too much as an information. It's been there for a while, but you can actually open a CIF file in ChemDraw Prime and then maybe use the structure perspective tool to rotate it in 3D. But that's the extent of to which you'll be able to use 3D in ChemDraw Prime. Oliver is on a roll. When you copy using 3MF, can you change the color palette? I'm gonna ask you to be slightly more specific. The color palette is really the regular, how are they called? Are they called CNP? No, not CNP. You know, carbon is gray, oxygen is red, nitrogen is blue, fluorine is fluorescent green, chlorine is green, so that you can't change. But what you will be able to get in 3MF is the color highlights, right? So if you take let's say, I'm going to take this molecule, make a nitrogen, and select that nitrogen and make it like dark blue, like this. So I selected it, I went to color highlights, and then I made it extra blue. And then if I take copy as 3MF and relaunch PowerPoint, that crashed my computer earlier. So I'm gonna try to not do that again. Control V, there you go. So this is the molecule that we have in ChemDraw that I just took. Right, so you see the green highlight, nitrogen highlighted with a blue sphere, and then the light blue highlight, and then the carbon being highlighted in red. That's the extent to which you will be able to play with colors, in 3MF. Phew, okay, I think we got through most of the questions. And if that is the last one, unless Oliver has another one, but I think we are 10 minutes past. So quick recap, we are going to be sending you a link to view the recording on demand after this session. I want to thank all the attendees. Like there are many of you who stayed over, which is really nice to see. Also a very good crowd today. So I want to thank you all for joining us for this ChemDraw Connect. You know, we're gonna have one every 2 months now on various topics. So feel free to send us, you know, specific topics you would like us to cover, whether that's supramolecular chemistry, organometallics, natural products, medchem, specialty chemicals, what have you, what polymers, whatever you're working on that you would like to know more about how to use ChemDraw with that, let us know. I'm gonna thank Lindsay. Maybe is Lindsay still around? Lindsay, are you still around?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep, I'm
Okay,
here.
then I'm gonna let you finish as well. So I want to thank everyone, and then just the final words from Lindsay.
Yep, thank you everybody for joining, and stay tuned for new updates to ChemDraw version 23. We'll be excited to share more with you very soon.
Excellent. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and talk to you and see you in 2 months or before. Bye, everyone.